10:13 a.m., Nashville, Tennessee. Covenant School, a Christian grade school. 28-year-old female former student came in with 2 rifles and a pistol, and by 10:27 a.m. on the second floor was no longer in this plane because 2 police officers did their job. A little under 15 minutes' time, this individual shot and killed 3 kids and 3 grown-ups. Police did their job quickly enough? I guess so. Twitter.com/MNPD Nashville announced an hour ago that they would do a new update in 15 minutes. I'm presuming this is going to be a news article and video feed and that sort of thing. They announced it on Twitter. The first thing you find are people screaming about their pet peeve of the day they want to make this shooting about instead of 3 kids dying and 3 grown-ups. The 28-year-old woman, who is no longer alive, who did this, came in with 2 rifles. The last umpteen times someone said it was an assault weapon or assault rifle, it wasn't. The last couple of times, a few times, someone said it was a high-powered rifle, which really should refer to the ammunition and or whether or not the gun is proof tested for higher pressure. It wasn't. This includes by the news, mainstream or otherwise, passers-by, people with an agenda, and the police department that absolutely has no excuse for getting shit like this wrong. The word assault rifle has a specific and fairly strict definition that never seems to include any of these shootings. And assault weapon has an actual definition, but because the assault weapons ban has been over with, people have been deciding to just ignore the definition and apply it to whatever gun they want to talk about. And again, this includes police officers sitting there right next to a car with an identical firearm in it, refusing to refer to it as an assault weapon. The comment section under the posting on the Twitter account for the Nashville Police Department, and I'm assuming it's Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, the commentary under it is people deciding it has to be about gun control, or a false flag, or about how it has to somehow involve them not liking certain varieties of people and the way they dress. Complaints that, why aren't you identifying the female? Why are you calling it a female? I've never heard that in a shooting, because women are not the perpetrators of mass shootings, at least the ones statistically we use in the United States. They're actually involved in a lot more shootings than you realize. They are just not listed officially as being the shooter. But when they are, they're always called a female shooter because it's called a male shooter. A gunman. Even this female shooter is called a gunman because that's the default term when you do spell check and you're doing a news story. Or just typing it out in the description for a video like I'm going to. I'll have to make sure, I don't get this wrong. So people have decided this had to have been a liberal because reactionarily, the majority of shootings, it's a bare majority or more than a bare majority, are done by people who are perceived as and or tout themselves as conservatives, not Republicans and Democrats. And when you actually look into what they are, you find out the majority of them are just crazy people with a gun. Most of them are apolitical. Some of them are confusingly Republican or Democrat looking, conservative or liberal looking, and it has nothing to do with it. But the bare majority, or more, depending on what you define the shooting as, are conservatives. So, naturally, you get conservatives immediately in the comment section trying to make it a liberal that did it. Every damn time. And again, you get a bunch of liberals trying to make it a conservative that did it. What was the motivation of this woman? No one knows. It's too soon. We don't even know the motivation years later for why Paddock did what he did. We have a guess, but the basic rule is, again, he went shit crazy. He went nuts. For years. Plotted and planned to shoot up someplace in Vegas. and he was essentially apolitical. There was a guy who attended Trump rallies, who was, I'm sorry, but very likely a Trump supporter. But he made it ambiguous enough. He's a mass shooter, shot up a parade. We still don't know if he's conservative. I mean, it's very likely he is, but we don't know this. I'm very sure he is, but I wouldn't be able to state under oath he is. So what are people doing with a lack of information? What's the name of the female? Is it really a female? That kind of shit? What are they doing? Making the deaths of 3 kids and 3 grown-ups about them. I've archived the snit that started under the announcement an hour ago that they would post an update 15 minutes later, which is not showing up on Twitter. Anyway, why wouldn't they be able to identify the female by name? Maybe the woman did not show up with her ID. I don't know if you understand this, but a large number of shootings, the person identifies themselves and then shoots themselves. But when they're taken out by a cop, a lot of the time, and this is actually a kind of a pattern, they're not carrying ID. There was a long time ago, but there was a shooting that took a week to identify the guy because he was from out of state and no one knew who the fuck he was. And it was a shooting at some random location, and it didn't make the news because he didn't kill anybody. It took him a week to identify him. I can't even remember his name. It was some Joe Blow. The lady who did this is only identified as a former student, likely. They may not know who she is. Last statement. One of the reasons the police would be either unable to or reluctant to identify a shooter has nothing to do with your conspiracy theories. It could have something to do with something even more basic. Maybe she's not identifiable anymore because the method they used for removing her might have removed the ability to identify her clearly. They wouldn't want to identify it as the wrong person and have that person come forward and be alive, because then conspiracy theorists would go crazy again. They have to make sure they know who it is. And yeah, it's possible because the cops in Nashville, Tennessee don't always show up with a rifle. They sometimes show up with a 12 gauge loaded with double-aught buckshot and a slug right after it. And if they're trained to deal with a shooter pointing a gun at them, they might do a Rhodesian shooting where they go for the center of body mass in the head. That doesn't occur to anybody in the comment section where they're making it about them and their pet peeves and their personal triggerings today. From 10:13 a.m. or earlier to 10:27 a.m. maximum, from the ground floor to the second floor, a 28-year-old woman went in with a rifle and pistol and ended up killing some kids and some grown-ups, and the police killed her on the second floor, and there was 2 of them. At Covenant Grade School, Christian Grade School in Nashville, Tennessee, and that's all we know. And I'm sure by the time you see this video, they will already done an update, and I will include the updated information below in the description, and that's the only purpose this video will have afterwards. But for right now, it's about me raging against idiots making the deaths of children about whatever it is they're pissed off about today. No, seriously, you people need to burn in hell. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.